Welcome to Between Sundays. I'm Tyler, and it's only a matter of time before I'm knife fighting raccoons for food scraps and dumpsters. Today we're talking about the granddaddy of all broken places, separation from God. But before we drop anchor on Hope Month, now that they've become full of every kind of wickedness, sin, greed, hate, envy, murder, quarreling, deception, malicious behavior, and gossip, let's welcome in our favorite co-hosts, Marin and Barry. Good day, guys.
And they disobey their parents.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, that was in there, too.
It was, and it fits with my opening illustration because I wandered off. Anyway,
Yeah. Wow.
How are you guys?
Good. Got some
Wow.
family business. Family business
Whoa.
before we get into
Before we
anything
even find
fun.
out how we're doing.
Yep.
Go.
Today we're going to talk about week 1 of our Hope Month series focused on separation from God and how to heal that broken place. And don't forget that you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/gracechurchin. Grace Churchin, not Grace Church. Churchin. We record the show every week on video, and your likes and subscribes really do help us reach new folks with Between Sundays. So like and subscribe on YouTube, everybody. Now, what's new? Other than Taylor Swift getting engaged, what is new?
Wow. I didn't even know that happened.
You didn't know? It's happened.
Where
It's
have you
happened.
been in the last hour?
Hour?
I had to I congratulated my wife.
Believe God.
You congratulated your
I
wife?
did. I said, hey, congrats on the engagement because it means so much. She's such
Yeah.
a big fan. So
Oh, wow.
My wife said that her sister called her, like, crying.
Oh, my gosh. Stop.
Big deal.
there's a lot of
It's a big
there's a lot of
deal.
people living vicariously through this woman.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
Wow.
Right before football season, too. She's marrying a football player.
I'm sure that wasn't strategic at all.
Yeah, probably not. Other than that, what's new? What's new with you guys?
I'm 4 days away from getting on a plane and taking my team to Turkey. Yep. We are. We've talked about this a bunch already, but we're going to go, and I'm taking a group of core team members from Grace to some archaeological sites, Constantinople, Pergamum, Ephesus. It's going to be awesome.
For somebody who has no idea, what is Liz doing? Are you okay? She's like, okay. For somebody that has no idea of what any of what you just said has to do with the Bible.
Yes.
What are you going to be doing on this trip? Like, what's the point of it?
Yeah. So there are. The reason why we're going to Turkey to talk about the Bible is because, like, the vast majority of the New Testament was written. Not the majority. I'd say half of the New Testament was written in the areas that we're going to go visit, in the city of Ephesus, in the province of Asia, as it was called in Roman times. That whole area was where so much of the early church cut its teeth and started to really figure out who are we in this world. And so the Apostle Paul wrote a lot of his letters to and from that area. John, the Apostle John, reportedly went there, and possibly, if he's the one who wrote Revelation to the churches in that province, in that region. So it's to understand what the early church was up against, and to understand the New Testament, and to understand the most significant event that I would say after the early church, which is in the 300s AD, when Christianity became the official religion of Rome. That happened in Constantinople, which is currently Istanbul. And following that sort of trajectory, it's all about, like, the church and the powers of this world, and how do they interact, how do they conflict, and what happens when they they partner together.
So is this like everybody go learn? Is this like what do you want people to come home having experienced?
Yeah, I mean, there's like 4 classes that we've already done leading up to the trip. So that's like 8 hours of teaching that I've already done. And then when we're there, I'll be doing 17 different site lessons at different specific places in the different sites and things like that. I'll be kind of bringing this scripture to bear, or this concept, having this discussion in different places.
So they're going to hear you preach 17 times?
They're short. They're little, it's like, I wouldn't even call them
It's a
like
3-day trip.
Devotionals. Some of them are it's me just saying a little bit of setup. Don't forget this and this thing that we covered in the class. Now I'm going to read this passage. Boom, I read it. Some of them, it's like I'm going to full on give an explanation. When we come to the Hagia Sophia, which is now a mosque, but was once I learned this, it was the largest indoor space that had ever been created when it was built in 537. Anyway,
Wow.
so
Well, I already knew that.
Yeah,
so
you
why
knew
would
that,
I need
yeah.
to go to that trip?
but anyway, when we're in the Hagia Sophia, I'm going to quietly read excerpts from a book, the book
What do you
1453.
mean quietly?
Are you allowed to do
it's
that?
you
Like
can.
whispering?
Yeah, there's people in there. It's a museum, but it's also an active mosque. But in that space, I'm going to read excerpts from a book that talks about the fall of Constantinople when the Ottomans invaded, and we're going to be standing in the place reading about the events that took place in that building. So anyway, things like that, and it's all of it is designed to kind of deepen the understanding of some of our members about the world behind the text of Scripture and what it means to be the church.
So is everybody who's going like a history buff, or like do you have to be a history buff to go on this trip?
No, and some of them are not scholars at all. They would be the first to tell you reading.
Well, you don't need to
intense
insult
stuff
them,
is
but-
well. No, their reading
They're
is
not
not like
scholars at all.
no, they're not like they don't find academic stuff particularly interesting, but they love Jesus and they love Scripture and they want to go deeper. Some of them are absolutely history nerds and they are like reading bonus stuff that
I was going to say,
I'm
you
not even-
assigned some heavy reading.
I did 2 books, but they were intense. Well, one of them was intense. Yeah. So anyway, I'm really kind of eager to see what happens as we go there and have these experiences. I know my life was genuinely changed from my first trip out there.
Yeah,
and-
you went there by yourself.
Yeah, 2023.
Okay,
Yeah. So this is, and the whole time I was there, I was imagining this trip. I was thinking, oh, I can't wait. Someday I want to bring people right here and I want to tell them this.
Is this your 3rd time back? Didn't you
Second
take-
time. I took
Where
a
did
trip
you
to
go with
Greece with Liv.
Okay.
So across the Aegean, but similar vibes.
Wow. This is such an interesting pilgrimage to me because not most, but lots of churches throughout history have made pilgrimages to the Holy Land.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? But this is really more about everything that happened after Christ and that first century of believers on up through
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah,
That's so
exactly.
cool. It's about church history.
It is. And what I hope people come away with, and what I've now completely become convinced by, is just how valuable it is to understand all the other stuff that isn't in the Bible, but helps us understand the life of the people who wrote the Bible and read the Bible first. So like all the stuff about the Roman imperial cult and what was it like to live in a port city in the province of Asia, and like what was the temple of Artemis like all that stuff, which is not anywhere in the Bible. It helps to give you that much deeper understanding of the world behind it. And it just, that kind of stuff is what I geek out about now, because I'm like, oh my word, I didn't realize this had this and this and this. And so now I get to share some of that.
Good.
Anyway, so I'm very excited. It's coming up fast.
Yeah, you're
and
leaving in a couple days.
Yeah. And so is Jaden Gafford, Marin's son. He'll have
all right?
a great time.
Yeah, what's new with you?
I just want to go home and cry.
Over this?
No, I've been trying not to think about it, but it's
okay.
Friday. Well, Friday we're taking him out to dinner before he leaves on Saturday. So he leaves. He leaves on Saturday.
Yeah. This is his first time out of the country, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm letting him go
And
with Barry,
and
whom I trust.
he is not bringing like communication devices, or is he?
What?
He's bringing his phone.
Yeah, but it's like in another country. He's not gonna like call you.
Well, right. And so I went to Ukraine. And at first, that was a longer trip. At first, we were calling each other, setting up times to talk, with the time difference and all that. But it came very apparent very early on that, you know what? Let's just talk when I get home.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting to be in contact with him while he's gone.
He'll be texting you. He'll have iMessage. It'll be fine. You guys can do an audio call anytime.
It's not nearly as long of a trip as the one I took to Ukraine,
Yeah.
and I do just want him to be able to disconnect completely
Good,
and have a good time. So, but that doesn't mean I will be any less worried.
Yeah, you'll be a mess.
It's gonna be great.
He'll be 100% fine.
Anything new with you?
I got to spend the weekend with my one. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but it was kind of my one and her husband and her 3 little kids all came to stay with me.
Just to hang out with you?
Saturday. Yep.
Just to see you?
It's very rare that her husband gets any time off work. And so we've had it on the calendar for a while that like, hey, when you've got a window of time, I'll just do what I can to stop everything I'm doing and spend time with you guys. And so they came up just for the weekend. They left yesterday. But I did take some time out to come and be in the baptismal tank. We had baptisms this weekend. And so, yeah, just hearing your message about separation from
Yeah.
God and
Yeah.
loving your one, and
So they were here
it
for
was
all that.
happening in real time.
They
in
didn't
my
come
home.
to grace.
They did not
Oh, they
come to
didn't.
grace.
Okay.
You know, the whole separation from God thing. They did not come to church.
Well, I thought maybe it was like, we're in town. We'll see what you're up
No,
to.
it was,
and-
we'll go to a park. You let us know when you
Okay,
get out of
gotcha.
church. And I did. I met him at a park as soon
Yeah.
as I left church. But we had really good conversations, and I'm sure, again, we'll get into it, but some of what was said on the weekend regarding evangelism and sharing your faith with others was right at the forefront of my mind as
Sure.
I interacted with this family that I love so much.
Yeah. It was not on the forefront of my mind this past weekend.
No.
For the first time, I'm not big on like reunions. I've never gone to a high school reunion. I've never gone to a college reunion. But this past weekend, is as close as I think I'll ever get because one of my friends from college got engaged.
Yeah.
Not Taylor Swift. Someone else.
Close second.
Travis
Yeah.
Kelce.
Close second.
Not Travis Kelce. He got engaged, and this is one of these things that it's like, man, we've been waiting on this for forever. And so I was like, I'm not going to miss that. He's been through a lot, and so Lauren and I went to go celebrate his engagement. And I didn't even think about whether I would know anybody when I got there or not, but like he's a fraternity brother. Like I was in a fraternity. He's a fraternity brother of mine, and all of these other guys were there, like guys that I haven't even thought of in 23 years or whatever. So that was cool. Didn't expect it. And I see them and I'm like, man, you guys look old. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't look like that, do I? But yeah, it was good. It was pretty wild because he kind of took care of everything for us. Like he took care of travel, hotel, all of the meals and whatever. Like he kind of took care of it.
Crazy.
So it was a great weekend to be with him, and we got to meet his fiance, and it was a quick trip. So Lauren and I just came right back, but
Just an overnight trip?
yeah. So we scooted right back the next day. But man, I this is like the last of like by the time we're this age, it's like most of our friends, most of them are either have been married or going to be married or whatever. And he was kind of the last one.
He was the
in my life.
holdout.
Yeah, it was like, man, this guy, why he has a girl. He's been having a girlfriend for like the last 3 years. What is he doing?
he
He's
waiting for?
42 years old. Whatever.
He had to save up enough money to be
Yeah,
able
to
to
pay
take
for my
care
hotel.
of everything.
to pay for my hotel. Yeah.
Are engagement parties a thing? Like, I was surprised to hear that this was all just
it was
an engagement
a
party.
big party. It's like something you would have expected for like a rehearsal
Yeah.
dinner or
Yeah.
the reception at a wedding.
Yeah. I maybe it's a common thing.
It's a thing.
I
I
don't know.
mean, yeah, like we had one.
Yeah, we had one, but it was at my house or it was at my in-laws' house.
Right.
It
Yeah.
wasn't like we didn't
yeah.
have napkins printed.
we didn't have a party. We had
Yeah.
a dinner with family.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, he had napkins printed. I got this hat there
That's right. That's right. He
at the
had
Pontoon Saloon.
hats distributed.
Yeah.
Looking very nautical.
He got a boat called the Pontoon Saloon, and everybody got a hat. So I'm wearing it today in honor.
Party boat.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry that Taylor Swift one-upped him, though.
Mm.
That's
Yeah, to
Must be
had
tough.
to steal his glory.
Must be
Yeah.
real disappointing.
other thing that's new. I'm going camping this weekend. I think we're going camping like 2 out of the next 4 weekends. And so if you have any like
Congrats.
family camping trip tips,
Mm.
Baron, I know you probably have some. What?
Here's a tip. Do not go.
Don't go?
Don't do it.
You're not a big fan of the
Just don't
outdoors?
go. No, I probably would be if I had a better reference for it. I don't have a
Oh,
good
have you ever
reference
done
for
it?
My parents used to pitch a tent at Cornerstone Festival.
Oh, that's
And
that.
a little
no, that
different.
doesn't
A
count.
little
all I
different.
know of camping.
No, you couldn't have like. Well, could you have open fires there?
Yeah, I think you could. You could pretty much anything goes, back then.
Yeah, that place was
But
crazy.
that's all I knew, and it wasn't a very good tent. I remember
Mhm.
waking up with my head in a puddle of water
Oh,
after
yeah.
it rained. Like,
Yeah, you need better reference. You can come with us this weekend.
no thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always been an interesting. Every time we camp with these little kids, it's always very interesting. The first time we ever went, Milo woke up in the middle of the night with like, what do they call them? Like sleep
Sleep
terrors.
terror.
Yeah. He woke up.
Oh.
And so Tent, you can hear from miles around. And so he's up like crying and screaming. And I'm like, people think, I can't even imagine what people think is happening in this tent right now.
So this is like lots of other families are camping in the same place.
Oh yeah, hundreds of people just camping like around. You get your own like lot or whatever, but
Okay.
it's 30 feet from the next lot.
Is it just one night?
This weekend we're going 2 nights.
Okay.
So
See,
That's
you
rough.
gotta go.
I don't get
Try
it.
backpacking.
I don't get
That's
it.
what it's all about. Where you actually can't hike out with
Are you-
all your stuff out somewhere, and then you camp,
Yeah.
and you're camping around nobody.
yeah,
I cannot
Primitive.
sleep. And
we're bringing air mattresses.
the only way for me to not wake up in pain is to be like surrounded by like a throne of pillows.
Yeah,
There
Yeah,
are
that's
pillows on
probably
all
not-
sides.
yeah.
All
Wait,
sides.
why?
Because I'm old and there's pressure points. So if you are sleeping on the ground,
Yeah,
that's a hard
So
pass.
most of these like lots or whatever are gravel. So you put your tent down and it's like it's rocks. Unless you have a mat under your tent, it's like stones underneath your body. So that's what we're doing this weekend and another weekend in the next couple weeks. So
Wow, have fun.
yeah, thanks.
Bug spray.
Yes, bug spray. Oh my goodness. Lane had his first bee sting this weekend. This past
Oh,
weekend.
buddy.
That's horrible.
We were in Nashville.
Ugh.
We weren't there for it.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
I would have come back.
yeah. All right, guys. Hope Month. We're kicking off Hope Month this
Yes, we are.
week. So for those who are new to the show or new to Grace, it's like Hope Month. We've been doing it the last several years, and usually, recently, in the last 6 years, we kind of focus on what we call the 6 broken places, and we focus on one of those broken places each year. This year, since we've kind of covered all 6 of them, we're like, let's just cover all of them at once this year. And so that's what we're doing. It's a 6-week series, and it's just celebrating Hope Month. And I know it sounds weird that we're calling it Hope Month while covering the broken places of this world, but the point is really to be like, how do we heal those broken places,
Right.
and how do we enter with hope into those places? So with that set up, Barry, kind of tell us what the big idea of this past week's sermon was.
Sure. So you mentioned the 6 broken places. There's one broken place that is, I called it the granddaddy of all the broken places. That's separation from God. And when you look at the biblical narrative and you think about the condition of humanity writ large, separation from God, our separation from our Creator, is the reason why all the other broken places happen, why people are isolated, why there's hatred, why the earth is in decay, why there's pain, why there's injustice. All of that flows out of the fact that we've been cut off or separated from our Creator. And so I talked about kind of the biblical storyline of how did that happen? Why is it that way? And then kind of turned the corner and talked about, and what is God doing? What has God been doing to heal that broken place? And the answer is Jesus Christ. He stepped into our story himself and basically took the curse down into the grave with him and then rose again to give us new life, new opportunity, and most importantly, the ability to come back into the presence of our Creator, to return to Eden, to be face-to-face with God again. And through that, not only do we no longer keep breaking the world when we are, face-to-face with God, obedient to his commands, not only are we not breaking the world anymore, but we actually get to participate in helping to heal the brokenness of the world around us. So we actually become sources of healing, not sources of brokenness in Jesus. So that was basically it. It was kind of a whirlwind tour of the entire biblical story, and we focused on a few passages from Romans to kind of capture Paul's perspective on that narrative.
Yeah. So, you said the separation from God is the granddaddy of all brokenness, like you said. My question really was, if that's true, which I do believe that that's true, I've noticed that we don't talk about that every waking moment of our lives. Like that, I feel like that we should.
About separation from God?
Yeah, if that's if that's the biggest issue and that's the source of all other brokenness, why am I not spending every moment of my life like talking about that?
Do you mean that it's the issue from which other issues flow out of?
Yeah.
Not that it's the biggest of the issues, but that it's like the foundational issue.
Yeah. So like, I mean, we talked about it last month. Like, hey, your marriage is in trouble. Maybe you should focus on your relationship with God.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a starting point, because maybe it's in trouble, not because of your lack of faith, but
Right.
maybe that is something that you should look into to heal
Right.
what's broken.
I think we do. We just don't always ascribe the language of the 6 broken places to it.
Mm.
Because I think that was a component of the marriage series. Your relationship with God is the foundation upon which you build a healthy marriage. You've got to tear it down to the studs, and you've got to rebuild it with his benchmarks in mind. And he's set the bar awfully high. Like we do talk about how healing separation from God is kind of the base from which we build our lives. We build our lives on that firm foundation. We just don't always use language like
Right.
like separation from God.
Right. And at the end of the day, I mean, healing separation from God is what we are here to do. And by we, I mean the church. I mean Christ's followers. Like ultimately that's what we are a part of. We're a part of joining God in bringing lost humanity back to him. And so I agree with Marion. I don't know that we always use those words, but it is, in theory at least, the center of what we're doing as a church.
Yeah. I feel that. And I'm speaking for myself, really. And so, like, it's much more easy for me to be like, where's the injustice? Send me on my way. Because I could see it. I could see poverty. I could see what needs to be done. Separation from God isn't something that you can really, like, see. It's harder to name and potentially, I mean, it is impossible to fix on our own. We could fix poverty potentially on our own, but we can't fix the separation from our Creator on our own.
But that's a whole other conversation, a whole other can of worms. But I would argue that perhaps we can't fix poverty on our own.
Oh, fine.
Maybe we can't fix even decay on our own. I think there is something to be said for the
awkward silence.
The need that humanity has for the power of God's Holy Spirit, because I think humans left to our own devices, even with good intentions and pure motives, will ultimately give way to deception, greed, power struggles. Like we're always going to end up. It's like, and we're getting into like theories of human culture. But if you look at like some of the best movements of justice or whatever that have ever happened, but the ones that didn't happen with any sort of faith foundation, so often they end up spiraling off into extremism of one kind or another, or authoritarianism or whatever. And it's like that.
But we wouldn't do that.
Well, so but when you look at some of the movements that have actually changed the world so often, and this isn't like black and white, but so often the movements that really do have lasting impact, you see that the people who were doing that were dialed into the heart of Jesus and spirit filled. And so that, again, I'm not saying all work that's done to heal injustice outside of faith is worthless. It's very much worthful. There's a lot of worth. However, I see so much more fruit when we are doing it like in the name of Jesus, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%.
Where we see the Holy Spirit empowering us, because the Spirit does way more with our humble offerings than we could ever do on our own. The Spirit multiplies what we do. And that's the difference.
Without it, as I was thinking about it, I was like, because your dad ended up writing a book that's kind of like talking about healing the broken places.
A why to live for.
Yeah. Actually, first live Between Sundays was when his book
launched. Right.
So as I've thought about this, I'm like, man, I feel like the thing I've been most passionate about throughout my life has been the injustice part. And, but if I'm not coming at it from a place of like rooted and reconciling people to Jesus, if I'm not doing that, it kind of feels like I'm just like rearranging furniture in a burning down house.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's all to say I'm glad we started with this.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why we say it's the granddaddy of broken places.
And I'll make one distinction, just because I could easily see how this might be misinterpreted. When I was doing World Next Door and traveling all the time, writing about what the church was doing about injustice. A thing I often heard from Christians was, well, sure, it's fine to care about injustice, but only after we've saved people's souls, right? They would say, like, it's more important to save people's souls than it is to fix poverty.
And that's not what we mean.
And that's not what I'm saying, because I don't think it's an either or. I think of all healing of all the 6 broken places is all a part of one grand narrative of redemption. And so the gospel, the good news of Jesus, includes justice for the poor and the marginalized. It includes putting the lonely in families. It includes, healing pain. All of that is a part of the kingdom vision. And it is all a part of coming back home to our Heavenly Father, coming back to Eden, returning to the presence of our God.
Yeah.
So that's my distinction. I just don't want to be misheard as if I'm saying, like, the only thing that matters, is getting people saved, and all the other stuff is subservient to that. I don't know. I'm just making that clear. That's not how I view this. I see it all as a part of a continuum of the good news of Jesus, the kingdom of God.
Yeah, my one is very social justice minded. She's very, very social justice minded. She is probably to the point of consumption. It consumes her in a way that leaves her very hopeless.
Right.
We had a couple of moments where she was in tears over the weekend, just talking about this, event, this thing happening in the world, that thing happening in the world, and what she feels like she can do about it, but how more often than not she feels like there's nothing she can do about it, and how overwhelmed she is by the state of the world. We're coming at it from a completely different place.
Totally.
Because I have a foundation of hope and she does not. What makes her my one is that when we first met each other, we were doing ministry together. And at some point, through lots of different reasons, in her life, she began to drift. Did she notice that drift right away? Like you said, separation from God isn't something you can see. Sometimes it is something you can feel. Either way, we've been friends for over 20 years now, and this is where we are, where she knows that I do what I do and believe what I believe, and we've maintained a friendship despite her kind of turning her back on the things that we once shared in common, the things that we once believed. She still believes in justice and desires that to the core of her being, but it's taking her to very dark places, very hopeless places, and here we are talking about hope. Over a month, and the granddaddy of them all.
So what do we actually mean when we say broken? The places are broken. We are broken. When we're separated from God.
I think of it in terms of specifically with separation from God, or just in general,
or like
when we say broken places.
Yeah, is it the same? Do we mean different things?
Yes, I think it's the same. I think what it means is the way I kind of tried to describe it in my message. When things are not the way they were meant to be, they're broken. So the world was meant to be full of justice. The world was meant to be full of health and abundance and peace and all the other stuff. The world is not filled with those things. It is filled with injustice and brokenness and pain and isolation. And so those are things that are broken in that they are not what they were meant to be or created to be. And so the reason that we call it Hope Month, when we talk about brokenness, which is so dark, is that we believe God is in the business of healing that brokenness, of repairing what is broken and bringing things back to the state that they were meant to be, that he created them to be. And that's the ultimate trajectory of the biblical storyline, is it goes from Eden to brokenness and then to new creation. And we are at the inauguration right now of that new creation, not yet complete, but it has begun. Yeah.
I think Dave's preaching in this series, right?
I think he's preaching this weekend in Justice. Yeah.
It'd be a good question for him, because I think I'm remembering when him and Tim were kind of conceptualizing this whole theory of the 6 broken places. Didn't it start off...
Evidences of the kingdom.
That's right. It started off with positive, but then it was more sticky to talk about what was broken.
Yeah, because talking about like love and community and like peace, for some reason, those were so wishy-washy in people's minds. But when you flip them around and call it hatred and isolation and injustice, then suddenly it's like, oh, well, yeah, I know what that's all about. I feel it in my gut.
Right.
So that's
so as it relates to like separation from God, though, like, do you feel like when we talk about this, just as Christians, do you feel like we underestimate kind of how broken we really are, or do you feel like we overestimate it when we talk about it. Because when I hear the 6 broken places, it doesn't like shake me to my core.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it should. I feel like that should shake me to my core based on the Romans 1 passage that you
Right.
I mean, especially as we talk about separation from God, I'll just read the Romans 1 passage, 1 verses 28 through 31.
Buckle up.
It says, since they thought it foolish to acknowledge God, he abandoned them to their foolish thinking and let them do things that should never be done. Their lives became full of every kind of wickedness, sin, greed, hate, envy, murder, quarreling, deception, malicious behavior, and gossip. They are backstabbers, haters of God, insolent, proud, and boastful. They invent new ways of sinning, and they disobey their parents. Why is that?
It's one of the 10 Commandments.
They refuse to understand, break their promises, are heartless, and have no mercy. That is like way harsher than broken.
That's what I was wondering.
You know?
Upon reading of that passage,
yeah.
in our cultural context, is broken too light of a word.
That's what I'm saying. Do we
Because
underestimate it or overestimate
The word
I
has
see,
kind
yeah.
of been co-opted in some ways of like, oh, I'm just broken.
it? Yeah.
Oh,
And we
sure.
almost say it with like a whisper softness
right.
when we say that word. Whether we mean it that way or not, that's how
Right.
it can come across sometimes. And so I wonder if there's a more, like you said, a more poignant word, a more harsh word.
Yeah, because I just think that like when we think of sin, we think of, or I do. When I think of sin, I think of bad behavior. You've called it in the past sin management.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a list of mistakes to fix. But this, what Paul just said, is like
He's
that's
describing
corrupt, man.
Yeah,
like
people
you are
out of control.
yeah, this is not a list of things to fix. This is
Exactly.
You've
Exactly.
said before, like you are turned in on yourself.
Right.
It's a condition. It's like a condition that needs healing, not
Right.
just like bad behavior that
Right.
needs fixed.
It is like a fundamental corruption of our identity.
So that's broken. But I've also met people that think that this list in Romans 1 is like too far. God can't possibly even fix that. God couldn't do it. Their corruption and brokenness is too great for God to heal. So,
Within themselves?
yeah.
Yeah.
So like if I've talked about separation from God or just like people's faith, it's like, am I underestimating it to be like, yeah, we're broken. We're all broken. We need to like heal.
Right. Right.
When really I should be talking about corrupt and sin and turned in on yourself. But if I talk about it that way, some people have been like, well, if I'm that, like God can't reach it. Like,
Sure.
that's too far.
Right. I think this is the constant pendulum swing of sin in the church. Like I'm thinking back to like I don't even remember the name of the guy who gave the sermon of like you were like a spider dangling over a burning fire, sinners in the hands of an angry God. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Where it's like the entire focus is on depravity, the depravity of man. And like you are desperately wretched beyond all. And like there are strains of Protestant.
Eager to navigate the fun.
Yeah, maybe not.
How does that
There
fit?
are eager to navigate the fun. There are entire strains of Protestantism, entire strains that are like focused on like you have to know just how wretched you are, and that's the entire beginning of the story. And then there has been a big pendulum swing away to like grace and mercy, and it's okay, and let's acknowledge that we're all broken. And that's, I think, maybe more of an environment of the late 2000s or early 2000s.
The Reformation.
Well, the Reformation again. It keeps going
Yes,
back and forth and back
Okay,
and forth.
seminary people. Let's
No,
settle
for
down.
real. That's not seminary. That's just
Yeah.
history.
I'm just saying. There's a pendulum. Like it goes to sin on one side, and then to grace on the other,
Yeah.
and then to
Yes.
sin, and then to grace. And so,
Yeah.
when you're reading a passage like that, it feels a lot more like sin than grace. And so it can see how it feels like, wait, well, that's not what I'm used to hearing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And so it clicked with me. I'm just going to read the Romans 5 passage that you included in your sermon. It says, God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners. And since it sounds like people are like wrestling
They
next
can't
door.
hear it. They're fine.
Well, if you can hear it, there are probably teens wrestling in the next
Wrestling
door.
with metal bars.
We have a school at Grace Church, and it sounds like teens are next door.
I
But
think they have wrestling class next door on Tuesdays. We're recording this on a Tuesday instead of Monday. So
okay, and since we have been made right in God's sight by the blood of Christ, he will certainly save us from God's condemnation. For since our friendship with God was restored by the death of his Son while we were still his enemies, we will certainly be saved through the life of his Son. So now we can rejoice in our wonderful new relationship with God because our Lord Jesus Christ has made us friends with God. So it clicked with me in this sermon that Romans 1 is so bleak and dark for a reason. Like, unless we believe that, I'll put myself in it, unless I believe that God abandoned me for my foolish thinking and let me do things that I never should have done, and my life has become full of wickedness, sin, hate, greed, all that list. Unless I believe that, I'm a backstabber, I'm a hater of God, unless I understand that I invent new ways of sinning, unless I understand and believe those things, then Romans 5 doesn't hit as hard. Romans 5 hits hard because of the reality of Romans 1.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I need to believe Romans 1 to understand and appreciate what grace even is.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I make one again? You're gonna roll your eyes at the NLT, but when he says God
great.
abandoned
Don't
them
even.
too, it's the word in Greek paradidomi, which is handing something over. And I mentioned this in the sermon. Like, it was in God's love that he gave us the free will to choose to reject him.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
He basically is saying, fine, you can do what you want. I love you so much, I'm going to let you do what you want. And that what we want is all that corrupt nastiness.
Yeah.
That's what we want. And so
Yeah.
he's letting us do that. And yet that's when he died for, like, that's
Yeah.
when Christ died for us while
That's right.
we were
While we
still
are in
sinners.
Romans 1, Christ died for us.
Yeah, while we were handed, and this is, I love like following the thread in Romans, but like while we were handed over by God to our corruption, God handed over, paradidomi, he handed over Christ to death.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's the exact same word at the exact same moment,
Yeah.
which is profound.
Yeah, it really is, because as a casual Christian, you might hear things like worship at the feet of God, or like get on your knees and worship God, or like he is king. He is like, you might hear these things and be like, what are we talking about? Like, even I'll go back to the word broken. Like, broken doesn't make me feel like I need to fall at the feet of the Father.
Yeah.
Broken. It doesn't. Romans 1 does.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like Romans 5 is like a lifeline, and I got to fall at the feet of however that's possible. Does that make sense?
It does make
Yeah.
sense. And interestingly, if you look at the broader, we always miss this because we want to pull out the little passages, we take them out of context. But the actual point that Paul is making in Romans 1 is to his Jewish readers. He's saying, y'all think that the Gentiles are like this, but you're no better.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. He's
Yeah.
saying we've all sinned and fallen
Yeah.
short of the glory of God, including you. And
I
you
got
do
bad
these
news.
You do these things too.
Yeah.
And you call yourself children of Abraham, but this
Yeah.
is the truth about you and the Gentiles. And Christ died for you while you were still sinners. So
I
it's
got
like,
plenty of bad news for you.
yeah. So he's just to add that it's like Christians who
Yeah.
tend to think we gloss over Romans 1
Yeah.
because we live in the grace of God, and so
Yeah.
we don't have to think about our sin as much anymore. Like, this is the pendulum swing where it's become so much about grace that we no longer care about our sin. But I think we're missing the point if that's how
Yeah.
we're reading Romans.
Yeah, this is like a meat and potatoes sermon. This is like the gospel. This is it. This is the gospel.
This is, yes. In fact, from now on, when people complain that we don't preach the gospel at Grace, I'm going to point them to this message.
Yeah.
Because I think this is the
Do
gospel.
people complain?
Yeah, they do a lot because of what I said before, where people, they expect the gospel to sound like, you're a sinner, you're going to hell, Jesus died
Yeah.
for you, believe it, and you can go to heaven. That's
Yeah.
the gospel. But that's not actually the New Testament's form of the gospel. The good news of Jesus is all of this stuff. It's
Yeah.
the healing of our separation from God. It's the fact that God created us in his image, and now we can come back to that. It's about the fact that we can actually be freed from the power of sin and death, and that we can join him in healing the world. And that includes things like injustice and pain and isolation and the decay of our planet. Like, all of
Yeah.
that is the gospel. So yeah, this is the good as close as I'll get to a nutshell sermon on the gospel.
I've never thought about this. I've heard isn't there like a million songs or maybe just one called
A million or maybe just one.
called Scandal of Grace?
Something like that. I know there's a book by that title.
Yeah, I just think as a believer, like it's just nice to hear the story of how God pursues us even in the midst of us not pursuing him and not interested, like you talked about, over and over again, because he wants us to be reconciled to him. It was a nice reminder for people who are already believers. Do you think, and it made me wonder, do you think it's hard for people to believe that God moves toward us even when we are not moving toward him? Why is that so hard to believe?
Do I think that that's the way people feel? Yes, because I know from people who've told me, like, I don't think God could ever forgive me for the thing that I did, or I don't know that I'm worthy. People have said that to me, and I've tried to say, I don't think you're understanding how deep the grace of God goes.
Yeah, and it clicked with me, like, that's what they mean by scandal. Like, it's a scandal to love a Romans 1 person. That's a scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. This is fun. I think you'll appreciate this, Marion, because you like the word Hesed.
I do.
So in Hebrew, in the Old Testament, the word Hesed is God's unfailing love or covenant faithful love or whatever. And it's a attribute of him that is used over and over again to describe him. But I just discovered on my own randomly that a word that's often paired with it is the word for abundant. So often it's referred to as his abundantly faithful love or abundantly unfailing love. It's like heaping on even more. And the more you think about God's grace for how little we deserve it, the more that clicks. It's like, it is kind of over the top, abundantly faithful. It is scandalous that he would love us. It's like, not only did we not deserve it, but like we've spat in his face over and over again. And he's like, okay, I'll die for you.
It's the story of the prodigal son.
It is.
If you need to understand the scandal of grace, look no further.
Yeah.
That's Jesus describing God's economy. That's Jesus describing the love of his Father, that you can be this guy.
Yeah. And he'll throw you a party.
Yeah.
When you come home.
And whoring your money away and slapping your father in the face and breaking the father's heart, and he'll still welcome you and love you. That's why, even in sitting with my friend and her husband this weekend, it's almost this look of compassion meets pity, but not in like the condescending sense of pity.
Yeah.
Just like he just loves you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, but you think you're so bad, don't you? But he just loves you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love you. And I hope you feel that love through me. I hope you feel his love through me.
I was just going to say, if you didn't say it, I was just going to say that's one of the beautiful things about Hope Month and the idea of God healing the broken places is that we get to be a part of that healing. And that includes separation from God. You and I, through the Spirit's presence within us, get to love others on behalf of God who loves them as well. So it's like, what a gift that is, that we get to love those who don't yet know him. Mm-hmm. It's also a huge responsibility, but what a gift. So
you used the story and illustration of the Children's Museum.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I didn't know it was free. It's like $100 to go there.
I know. It's insane.
Do you have a bone to pick with your mom now?
For not taking you all the time?
Well, yeah.
What in the world, Mom?
By the time I moved here, I wouldn't have wanted to go with my mom.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I would not have wanted to go with my mom.
No, it was just in like the late 80s. But yeah, we went like to the zoo and the Children's Museum each once a week.
Wow.
Because it was free, and Mom was a stay-at-home mom trying to figure out what to do with these kids. So yeah.
You also used the word anchor as an image that stood out to me, and it made me think about my identity and what it's rooted in or anchored in. And I think there's something to be said about how our modern identity crisis, no matter who you are, our identity crisis can be traced back to this broken place of separation from God. Because if I'm confused about who I am in my identity, read Romans 5. That's your identity. That is it. That's your identity. It's not your career. It's not my career. It's not my relationships. It's not my politics. It's not my personal expression. Those things make me anxious, actually. I wasn't designed to invent myself, you know.
Sure.
We weren't designed that way. We were designed to receive our identity. And so as you used the word anchor, I was like, man, it's probably overused in the Christian world, but like that's a good image to have. Where's your identity anchored in?
Right.
And if it's in these other things, you're only going to, and this goes back to talking about your one, that you're only going to feel different than if you root your anchor in identity that you were meant to receive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, otherwise you are adrift. And by the way, very appropriate wearing your pontoon saloon hat.
Ahoy!
Ahoy!
And I also acknowledge that everything I just said has been used for bad. Like, I have to remember that salvation is something that we were created or saved for.
Right.
We're saved for that. And I think this is the core of what I took from your message. It's not turn or burn. It's not I'm being saved from something. It's being I'm saved for something. It's this identity. It's to help others heal. And so it made me question what do you think it does to Christians if we can get people to realize that we are agents of healing instead of just recipients of salvation. Right. What does that do to us when we come to that realization?
Well, I think it raises our responsibility level to a much higher degree, because I think if we think of salvation, quote unquote, or believing in Jesus and receiving God's grace, if we think of that as the finish line, then all it is okay, we get there and then we just hang on tight until we die and go to heaven when we die or whatever. Versus if we look at that as the starting line, and now I'm in a transformational journey of becoming completely like Jesus, and in my actions and my thoughts and my work, like that suddenly raises the level on how important this is, my faith, right? This isn't some passive status that I've now acquired. This is the beginning of a journey. Yeah. And I think that, to me, is like, that should change the way we think about our faith and how much energy we're willing to invest in our faith. Yeah. Because we haven't made it.
I'm having this like aha moment that I did not grow up with that distinction, because my parents were saved from horrible things.
Sure.
And anyone who is saved from horrible things wants to save others from horrible things and spread that life and the hope that they have received. They can't keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
They could not keep it to themselves because they had been brought out of such a dark place. So there was no distinction between, just receiving salvation so you can sit there and hold on until death. That's not the way I grew up.
Sure.
You guys must have seen a lot of that. I didn't see a lot of that. I saw a lot of, wow, we have been saved by grace. Our whole lives are different. We still have all these friends back there that are still in darkness. We need to do everything in our power to share the gospel because we want for them this freedom that we have found for ourselves.
Right. I'll give you an interesting, this just came to mind. I went to the funeral recently of an older guy, total, like, amazing, salt of the earth kind of Christian man with a deep influence and legacy, touched the lives of many people. But the church culture of that funeral was very telling, because I know this man's story, and I know that he spent a huge amount of his life doing medical work to develop Kenyan doctors to like serve the marginalized and the poor in Kenya. Like, that's the legacy that I'm positive he would want to be championed. But what did everybody champion? The fact that he did his devotions every morning. That was what they talked about. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, but that's
I wish
fascinating.
I did my devotions.
Well, sure, we all do, but we all wish you'd do that more, Tyler. But
I'm serious. I would love to die with that being my legacy.
Sure, but what I'm saying is, like, for me, this man's like life was an unbelievable like example of joining God in his healing work. Like, he used his status, his privilege, his wealth, his time to invest in the things that God cares about. But this culture that he's from is that culture I was describing earlier that thinks of justice as like what you do at the end if you've got a little extra time or money. But like what really matters is like the
Piety.
personal piety. Thank you. I was just about to say that word, personal piety. And so all they talked about at his funeral was his personal piety.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I just
gotcha.
find that so fascinating that like there's such a different way to look at what God is calling us to.
Yeah.
And what does a Christ-like life look like?
Yeah.
So, okay, here's a question I've been having since the sermon. Are we, the three of us, even though we are Romans 5, that's our identity, are we still broken?
I would say yes.
But we're not Romans 1 broken.
Well, are we but for the grace of God broken
Still?
in that way?
So like you said broken people break the world.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I don't want to be broken and break the world. I want to be unbroken. I want to be Romans 5. That's what I want my identity to be. I don't want to be somebody who's breaking the world. I want to be somebody who is healing the world.
Right.
But if I'm still broken, even though this is what I have surrendered my life to, but I'm still broken and I'm still potentially corrupt, what am I doing?
I think Scripture makes it very clear that even after giving our lives to Christ, we consistently give in to our sinful urges. We consistently fall back and backslide, to use the old term, into ways of living that are indicative of being lost and not found. Like we constantly do that. And yet, baked into the very nature of the sacrifice of Jesus is that God's grace is forever. Like we do not have to start from scratch to come back into the presence of God. We're already there. It's a matter of simply confessing and receiving again that forgiveness and that grace. So
but that implies that I'm being fixed. If I'm broken, receiving
Are you just
that,
getting hung up on the word broken?
maybe. I don't know. Because I got hung up on when you said broken people break the world. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that.
So what if it was, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Are we still sinners? While we were broken, Christ died for us. Are we still broken? Wouldn't the answer be yes on both counts? We're still sinners. We're still broken.
So
And
the
while
three
we
of
were-
us are still breaking the world, even though we're trying
sometimes if I'm unkind, if I'm selfish, shoot, let's just be honest. We live in suburban America. How much injustice are we contributing to just every day simply by living here?
So is it,
You know
like,
what I mean? It's like
3 steps forward, 2 steps back or something?
Sometimes. I mean, this is the plight of Christ followers living in a still broken
I
world.
had a moment with my socially conscious one. I was trying to just pick up a quick lunch for her kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we got this place, we got that place, they're not vegetarians or anything, so I could name anything. We've got all these places. And she's like, oh, well, I can't go there, and I can't eat there, and I can't buy from there. And
she's got a list of
she's knocking them down based on, stances they've taken or whatever controversy they may be embroiled in. And I'm like, but I eat there once a week. Am I breaking the world? To her, I am.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. So that's just a bummer. Like,
it is
if
a
you're
bummer.
broken, you want to hear something that's going to fix you.
Sure.
And this sounds great. Romans 5 sounds great, but it's still not going to fix you.
I think it all comes down to now and not yet. The now and the not yet. That's how we talk about the new creation. Like the kingdom of God is here. It has begun breaking into our world, breaking into our lives, transforming us into people who are not the people we were before. But we're not fully there yet, and the world is clearly not fully there yet. I don't think that will ever happen in the world until Christ's return and the new creation is inaugurated. And I don't think it'll happen for us individually until the resurrection. Like, I think that's when we are fully healed. The thing is, the gift is that we now get to start living that resurrection life in part to the best of our ability while we consistently humble ourselves and let Christ and his Spirit transform us. So it is always a journey. Yeah. There is a destination though. And unless sorry, I'm going to bring up Pelagius. Unless you are of the Pelagian school of thought.
Now that is seminary.
That thinks
That's
that
seminary right there.
There were some theologians who said that you could be perfect in this life.
That's right.
But that was considered a heresy.
That's right.
So the orthodox position is that no, perfection is not possible because we are humans. We are wicked at our core, and even in the grace of God, we consistently stray. We are the prodigal son that after coming home and having the big party, went back out one more time to the pigs again, and then came back and said, I can't believe I did that again, Father. And Father said, well, you're back. Let's throw a party. So it is the constant returning. And sanctification, to use another big word, that sanctification idea is that we are constantly being shaped and being transformed. So ideally, if you're dedicating yourself to Christ-likeness over the course of 30, 40, 50 years, you will, at the end of those 50 years, look a whole lot more like Jesus than you did when you started. But you're still not going to be like, you're not going to be him, you know? So I don't know. That's how I look at it. So it's not hopeless. I think there's great hope in the fact that I can actually grow out of my selfishness in many ways. I can grow out of my selfishness or the ways that I hurt other people, or I can grow out of my rage, or I can grow out of my addictions, whatever it is, because the Spirit is working on me. But that is a journey, and it's not an overnight deal.
Your sermon ended with 3 calls. Number one, and they're all for different types of people.
Sure.
So number one, if you're a follower of Christ, the call was to deepen your faith. If you are a follower of Christ, call number 2 is to stay committed to your one. And if you're not a follower of Christ, the call was to come home. Which of these, and the answer, for the sake of the podcast, should not be all of them. Which of these feel the most urgent to you guys? Deepen your faith, stay committed to your one, and come home.
Urgent to us personally?
Just like, man, we got to do this first. This has to happen right now.
I would, go ahead.
Well, I would think as a church, if you're already here, deepening your faith would be the thing. I don't know. That's a hard question to ask because it's a hard question to ask. This weekend, staying committed to my one was the most pressing thing. It was. I told Jed and I told you guys when I first got here today, it can be exhausting. It wasn't easy. There were a couple of moments in conversation where it was just like, oh, like this is exhausting.
I guess.
But I love you so much.
Stay committed to your one is like, that's one way of talking about like evangelizing, I guess. Like, right?
Well, for me, it would mean don't give up on them when you just want to roll your eyes at half of what they're saying. Like, don't get offended when they start like making fun of your faith right in front of you. Like, can you stay in the room and love them when they are mocking you to your face?
No.
This weekend, the answer was yes, and had to be yes.
Or maybe a better question is: do you feel like we as a church, or not, we as Christians, are neglecting any of these things?
I mean, I think if I zoom out, not necessarily referring to grace in general, but just the evangelical church in America, like I think deepening the faith is the one that is the most neglected because of all the stuff we've already talked about. I think we're all far too content staying where we are. And I think we should probably be filled with a much more holy discontent at our lack of transformation. I have been a Christ follower basically my entire life, and I'm not content.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I am not content with where I am. I see areas in my life and I'm like, I've got to go deeper. I've got to grow. I've got to learn. I've got to be more like Jesus, because right now I see where I'm falling short. And I would love it if every Christ follower had that same mentality where we are all like, I've got work to do, because I want to deepen my faith. And that's discipleship. That's what we're about. So I see it as pretty urgent. Especially in our culture, which is very much focused on what's the least I have to do. I want to be comfortable, design everything around my whims and desires. I don't want to be uncomfortable, like all that stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It was an interesting question to me because it's like, I know people who would say, absolutely, it is getting people to come home.
Right.
That is the most urgent thing. We have to grow churches. We have to expand the kingdom. That's the most urgent thing. And that is how they feel. And other people would say, no, well, in order to do that, the most urgent thing is that I deepen my faith. So it was interesting to be like, what do we think?
Well, and again, I think what was the second one? Pay attention to
Stay
your one,
committed
or
to your
stay
one.
committed to your one is getting people to come home. I think the third bullet point was for those who are not actively fishers of men, for those who are not following Christ. The response to you is come home. And so I wondered who in the room needed to hear that, who watching online needed to hear that. I wished my friend was in the room to hear that.
Yeah.
But since they weren't, I'm going to stay committed to them, and I'm going to deepen my faith so that I don't drift, and so that I can, what did Mark say? Not impose my faith, but expose my faith.
Yes. Yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah.
I am going to hold on to that forever.
Pretty timely for you. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think they expected me to impose my faith. I
Sure.
think they always come in. They've stayed with me a handful of times,
Yeah.
and it's always for a couple of nights because they come all the way in from Chicago.
Right.
And so I think they expect
Right. After your nightly sermon.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so I think in their maybe discomfort or their apprehensiveness, they bring it up more often than I do.
Yeah.
I'm just cooking.
Like,
I'm just making.
anyway, Jesus.
Right.
You're like, what? Who said anything about Jesus?
Right. I think maybe just being in my home and being in my environment is something that they're keenly aware that they're not with their usual crowd.
Yeah.
And they talk about the elephant in the room way more often than I do. But it's because I don't want to impose my faith on them.
Yeah.
But hey, if you want to talk, let me expose my faith.
Sure.
But in, I guess, in as faithful a way as possible. And that comes from deepening your faith and knowing your faith well enough to be able to expose it and explain it and defend it when necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this kind of gets to a sort of a ministry philosophy of Grace Church, is that we generally do focus on deepening people's faith and discipleship over getting as many people to the quote unquote starting line, as I see it, as possible, which I think some churches, they really major on that. And it's all about I want people to come here and make a decision for Jesus. That's success. Whereas I want to see as many unbelievably transformed Christ-like people in our midst as possible, and I trust that will result in more people coming to know Jesus in our community. So that's just a different philosophy. I'm again, to use that starting line journey like dichotomy, I would say, where some churches focus on getting people to the starting line. I think Grace is really focused on developing people for the journey, and trust that will get more people to the starting line.
I think that's biblical. I think about Jesus saying, pray to the Lord of the harvest, that he sends more workers because the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few.
Yeah.
I think that was the mind of Jesus, to stir the people, stir the followers, stir the people who love him to go out and be fishers of men, because he couldn't on his own. Well, he's God, he could do anything. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about me and you trying to save as many lost souls as possible.
Right.
Maybe it's about me and you and all of us as Christians stirring one another onto good works, so that I harvest a couple people, you harvest a couple people, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, to bring in that great harvest.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, I went to a fundraiser for the Care Center Foundation last night, so this is at the top of my mind, but I'm thinking about the difference between if we had a focus with our Care Center pantry of just feeding as many hungry families as possible. If that was our only focus, then the main metric would be how many families are coming through the door.
Yeah.
But one other metric that we look at and celebrate that I would argue is even more important is how many families are graduating out of our Care Center Co-op. And the Care Center Co-op, for those of you who don't know, is basically a program where volunteers will work with individuals and families over the course of months, sometimes years, to help them, meet their financial goals, help them with job interviews. I don't know. There's some legal stuff. There's all kinds of different things we offer, along with like microloans and car care, things like that. And so there are people regularly who graduate out of that co-op program. And at this point, it's over 110 have done this over the years. And what that means, when they graduate from the co-op, it means that they are no longer in need of the services of the care center anymore, which, if you think about that, that's essentially saying that we have brought them to a place of sustainability where poverty is no longer defining their lives. We serve 600 families a week, but we see 111 families that have been transformed fundamentally because of that. And so which metric do we focus on? Which one is the most important to us? And I would argue that that second metric is more important because that's the metric that transforms lives. And many of those people who graduate from the co-op become care center volunteers. They are transforming other lives in their community, and it's leading to even more sustainability and health over the long haul. So there's a difference, and both are important. Don't hear me say that one is not important. They're both really important. It's just where's our focus and where's our energy.
Yeah.
You said hurt people,
yeah.
right? But the other side of that coin is
Heal people,
transform
Yeah.
people, transform other people.
That's right.
Yeah.
So where do we go next?
So
you don't know. You're going to Turkey.
Yeah, who cares, right? No,
because you're done for the rest of the series.
I'm not.
Right?
I'll be back for Decay, week 5.
That's appropriate.
It is. It is appropriate. So maybe friends of the pod can chime in on whether they think it's worth us trying to figure out how to get little Ziggy the pig on stage at Grace.
Of course.
Sunday.
That's a
Might be a lot.
resounding yes.
I mean, maybe we'll see.
Yeah, they don't have to pull it off. Friends of the pod will be like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, bring a shovel. I don't know. Anyway, so the next week is Injustice, and it's my dad coming back to teach. I have Dad and Milton is speaking he's the last one speaking on hatred, and both of them were giving me such a hard time for giving them the easy topics, injustice and hatred.
Hello, I have pain.
Oh,
Easy
you'll be
topics.
fine with pain. Yeah. No, they're all hard in their own way.
You just said your body's shutting down.
Hey.
You can't sleep on the ground.
Women of a certain age.
Throne of pillows.
All right, so Dave's coming in next
He
week.
is.
That'll be
He
good.
is.
Me, Marin, and Dave.
Tyler, I'm
good.
surprised before
What?
we end. You didn't get the sound clip I thought you were going to get.
I know, Barry.
You know what it was?
What?
Do you know? Do you know what I was thinking?
No.
I said there was a perfect sound clip.
Yeah,
and I'm
you did say
positive,
that.
Did
Positive
you
you're
write
gonna
it
get
in? You wrote the sound clip in on purpose?
No, it wasn't for the purpose of this. I just knew after I wrote it, I was like, oh, Tyler's going to clip this. It was, and I'll give it to you right now.
Okay.
I can't find my mom.
I knew that was going to be it. The person who usually does that is on PTO all week.
Oh.
And
sad.
I have had zero time to do that. So it will be here.
It does not need to be.
No,
I
it
was
does.
just giving
It
you a hard
definitely
time.
does. It definitely does, but I did not do it.
It's totally fine. Just giving you a hard time.
All right, so Dave will be here next week, and we'll talk about injustice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Barry, have a great trip.
Thanks.
It's going to be great.
I'll try.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right.
Marin, will you please send us out?
I will. Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
And we'll see you on the other side of Sunday.